The masking tool is one of the newest features available in Lightroom, and in this video I am going to demonstrate a few ways I have used it to edit or enhance my photos. To get started, I am using Lightroom Classic, and I have 5 photos here. These photos I have already gone through and done my basic editing process. I really wanted the focus of this tutorial to be on the masking tool, but if you're interested in seeing basically my start to finish editing process, I will link below one of my previous videos. It's a little bit older, but it generally describes my basic process for editing with the exception of the masking tool. Like I said, that's the focus of this video today. Okay, so I'm here in the Develop module, and you can find the masking tool in this toolbar along with crop, spot healing, red eye removal. If I just click on this circle, it's going to expand with different mask options. If you are new to mask, basically it is just applying adjustments or enhancements to a specific region of a photo. If you're familiar with Photoshop, it functions similarly to the masking abilities in Photoshop. So for this example, I would like to show you the Select Sky mask, and I'm going to do this on this photo that I took of some Christmas lights. And if I just come down here and click on this Select Sky option, it's going to go through and detect the sky. It's also going to create this little pop-out window here, or this pop-out panel. Now you can see that it has selected the sky area of my photo, and I can see where it's made this mask by this show overlay in red. And just looking at the photo, it did a really good job of selecting basically just the sky in my photo. So I'm really happy with that mask. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off though, because as I make adjustments, I want to see what it looks like in my photo as I'm making the adjustments. Okay, so for this photo, one of the things I wanted to do was just brighten up the sky a little bit, and to do that, I'm just going to take this exposure slider to the right a little bit and just increase the exposure. I might also just click or move the highlight slider to the left a tiny bit so that this really bright region of the sky isn't too bright. So already I like how much brighter the sky is. I would also like to bump up the contrast a little bit. Basically, that just makes light things lighter and dark things darker, adds a little bit more drama, and the sky felt kind of dramatic that night, so I feel like that's an appropriate enhancement to make. And then finally, I'm just going to increase the saturation a little bit because it was such a pretty sky. I love the blue of the sky, or this like this evening sky with also this little bit of pinkish, like a little smudgy pink in it. It was a lovely sky, so I feel like that helps to enhance that color contrast. Okay, so now if I click on this button here, I can turn off the mask. So this is what my photo looked like before I applied the mask, and then this is what it looks like after. And you can see it's done exactly what I wanted. It's brightened the sky and it's added a little more color, and I would say this accurately represents what the sky looked like to me that night when I was taking the photo. So the Select Sky mask is a great tool for enhancing sunsets, or if you have a really bright sky and you want to bring back some of the highlights, it's a great tool for that. It's just a really great tool for those of us who include lots of sky in our picture. The next tool that I want to show you is the Select Subject tool, and to do that, I'm going to demonstrate on this picture of my cat Poppy. Just doing what cats do, right? Sleep on the bed all day. When I was taking the photo, it was a little bit of a challenge because I had a lot of light coming in from this window area, but the problem or the challenge is she's a really dark cat, so if I exposed for her, the background or the window, these brighter areas would have been completely blown out. And so I just made the choice in camera to underexpose it just a little bit so that I didn't completely blow out the lighter areas of my photo, and I knew that I could come into Lightroom and lighten up the shadows here on my cat. So to do that, I'm still in the masking tool here, and for this one, I am going to use the Select Subject mask. So if I go ahead and click on that, Lightroom is going to detect the subject. I'm going to expand that panel. Once again, you can see with the Show Overlay box checked, the red is the masking area. This is the area where all of my adjustments are going to be applied, and it did a really awesome job of selecting just the cat. It's amazing. Okay, so I know for sure what I want to do is, well, let me first turn off the overlay so that I can see the adjustments as I make them. So the first thing I want to do is just increase the exposure overall, and then I will also lighten the shadows a little bit with this slider, and you can see immediately a lot more detail comes into, or I'm able to see a lot more detail in the foreground where it was kind of shadowy. One of the other sliders that is fun to play with things that naturally have texture is this texture slider, and basically it just enhances the texture of things that already have texture. Okay, the last thing I might do is just bump up the clarity, and that just adds another layer of contrast and texture to Poppy here. So if I turn off the mask, here's my photo before, and you can see a lot of shadow, really not much detail at all. But if I turn the mask on, now she's more in detail, and you can really see these darker areas in the foreground. So the select subject is great for backlit subjects like this. It's also great for anytime you want to just add a targeted adjustment to whatever is in the foreground. So once again, I just love these new masks. They just make it so much easier for us to apply these targeted adjustments. Okay, so the next photo I would like to demonstrate with is this photo that I took recently on my evening walk. The light is so pretty this time of year. It's so warm and golden, and I love how it created a little bit of a spotlight on the side of this house. And so I would like to enhance that, and the tool that I will use for that is the Radial Gradient tool. Now the brush and the linear gradient and the radial gradient, these used to be their own individual tools in the toolbar, and so now Lightroom has just lumped them in with this overall masking tool. So the radial gradient functions similarly, or the exact same way as it did before. And to use that, I'm just going to click on the radial gradient, and instead of Lightroom detecting something in the photo, I'm going to actually draw an elliptical shape over the area that I would like to enhance. And so I would like to enhance basically this piece right here. And once again, with the Show Overlay, I can see where the overlay is being applied. You can also see it here in this thumbnail. So I'm going to deselect Show Overlay so that I can see my adjustments as I'm making them. And I would like to basically just brighten up this one little area of the house. And then I'm also going to add just a little bit of color to it. I'm just going to enhance that warm golden color a little bit. I'm going to keep that fairly subtle because I want it to be realistic. And then I can also add just a little bit of contrast here. One of the things that I can do is play around with this feather slider, and basically that just softens the edges of the adjustment that I've made in this region right here. So I want to be sure to feather this out so that there are no hard edges or noticeable places where it would start and stop. Now if I turn off the mask, this is what my photo looked like before, and here is what it looks like after. And you can see it's just brightened up this part of the house. It's once again a little more accurate representation of what I saw with my mind's eye when I took the photo. In this photo, I'm going to demonstrate the linear gradient tool. And what I loved about this photo is I loved how the light was coming in from the right side of the photo and how it created a little bit of a shadow on the left side. I loved that play between light and dark on a side lit photo, and I would like to enhance that just a little bit in this photo. And to do that, once again, I'm going to use the linear gradient. The linear gradient, like the radial gradient, is the exact same thing as it was before. It's just bundled up into the masking tool set. So if I click on linear gradient, basically I'm going to draw an area with my mouse, and it's just going to create a line, and that within this area is where my adjustments and enhancements will be. And you can see here on the thumbnail where the adjustment is being applied. I'm going to turn off show overlay so I can see my adjustments as I make them. And basically all I would like to do is increase the exposure just a little bit in the right side where the light was actually coming in. With the linear gradient tool, you can play around with the shape of it basically. So I can move it here, I can move it a little bit further in. I can also use this leftmost button to change the angle of the gradient. So if I wanted to apply it more from the lower left or upper right, I think though I probably will stay somewhere around here. And then I can also drag it to expand it, just make it a little bit wider. And once again, you can see how that mask is being applied in this thumbnail. Okay, so that looks good to me. With the mask checked, with this thumbnail checked, you can see where the overlay is being applied. Now I want to create a new mask because I want to add a little bit of shadow on the left side where the shadows were naturally falling. So I'm just going to click on create new mask, and I'm going to once again select the linear gradient tool to create a new mask. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to draw here from left to right, and in this one I am going to decrease the exposure just slightly and maybe enhance the shadows by deepening the shadows just slightly on the left side of the photo. Once again, I can change the angle of the linear gradient, I can move it over a certain area, I can expand it a little bit. I'm going to pull it back just a little bit. I only want it along this left hand side. Now if I click this button and turn the masks off, this is what it looked like before, and this is what it looks like after my adjustments. And I like that it's a little more of a directional light, which is one of the things I liked about the photo the most. The linear gradient tool is just a really great option for enhancing large regions of a photo, something in the background or something in the foreground. It just makes it really fast and easy to apply any kind of enhancement or edit to those specific regions. In this last example, I am going to demonstrate the brush tool. Once again, like the linear gradient and radial gradient, the brush tool used to be an option in the toolbar, and now it is included in the masking tool. So to select the brush, I'm just going to click on it here, and once again, Lightroom is not detecting anything in this photo. I am applying it. I am telling Lightroom where I want to apply it, and basically the brush works just like you think it would, just painting on with my mouse, if I hold down my mouse key, and just painting on whatever kind of adjustments that I want to make. And so in this case, it was kind of an overcast day, it was kind of a low light situation, and I don't mind the moodiness of it at all. I just feel like the coffee cup is a little bit lost in it, can brighten that up just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I am going to increase my exposure just a little bit. I'm going to start there. I can increase the size of my brush by using the right and left bracket keys. I can also use this slider here. I've also got the flow and density because I don't want to apply this brightening or this increase in exposure. I don't want it to be the maximum effect of that. I want it to be subtle. I don't want the coffee cup to just be bam showing up out of context with the rest of the image. I just want to apply kind of a subtle brightening of this part of the coffee mug. So now I'm just going to paint on this adjustment, and you can see there where it's just brightening a little bit this part of the coffee mug, and that's really all I needed. I just wanted to be able to see some of the detail a little bit better. I could also lighten the shadows a little bit, especially down here, kind of in this lower region. And I'm just painting on this adjustment right here around the edges. Once again, if I click on this button, here it is before, and here it is after. And it's subtle. It's not a like screaming white mug against a dark background, but it just enhanced it a little bit and see it a little bit more detail. So the masking tool or the brush tool is a great way to apply adjustments to very small specific regions of a photo. It's great for skin retouching, just to if you want to smooth out a few areas on someone's face. It's a great way to enhance eyes by adding just a little more clarity, maybe a little more saturation, maybe brightening up a little bit. You can use the brush tool for a wide variety of things. You can even use it on a really large scale if you want to, let's say if we selected another new brush, if I did the right arrow key and made it really, really large, I could apply adjustments here in this entire background region. So it can be a little bit like a radial gradient tool, but I find that it's just great now with these new options. It's great for small targeted adjustments. So I hope I have helped to demystify the masking tool a little bit for you. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. I'm always happy to help there. And as always, thank you so much for watching.